Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking about independent and dependent variables. And we're going to be using the Cornell Notes style to be taking notes for this lesson. So under the topic here, I want you guys to put independent and dependent variables. That's going to be your topic for today's lesson. If at any point in time you need to stop or slow down, feel free to pause the video to make sure that you're following and not falling behind. And on the Cornell notes, you should have an essential question to what you're studying. So for this one, the essential question I want you to write is, why is it important to collect, organize, and analyze data? Um, and data is defined as a collection of facts, numbers, words, measurements, observations, description, anything that's fact that you collect. It's not your opinion, it's not what you think. It's things that you observed, numbers, words, something that you can measure. Okay, so go ahead and write that down as your first set of notes. What is data is your question, and then you write down the definition to the right. Once again, feel free to pause or to slow down a bit. I am not going to slow down, so that way you don't fall behind. Okay. Um, so how do we collect data? Okay, let's try to figure out. I'm having a conversation with someone, and we're talking about who won the most World Cups in the world, right? And then I go online, I do some research, and I find out that Brazil won the most, and I have the list of all the other countries that won that, and then I create a graph, and then I can show that to people. Okay, so you can see a list of countries that won the World Cup by the number of wins and the countries over here. Okay, so you can see that Brazil won 5, Uruguay won 2, Spain and England won 1. Okay, so we collect data to find out questions we want to answer. We'll collect data to graph the data, collect the data to do the research, and then we graph the data. That's our way to communicate, to show our results. Okay. So let's say I want to do my own experiment and I want to find out how long it takes for a airdrop supply that I create, just like you guys did, to drop down to the floor. Okay, so I do it 5 times. The first trial it goes 176. Then the second trial goes 198. Third trial 2.98 seconds. Fourth 2.1 seconds, and fifth 2.19 seconds. So here I tried it 5 times, and then I graphed it here. Trial 1 through fifth. Oops. And then the time is 0 seconds, 1 second, 2 seconds, and 3 seconds, right? So a variable is something that can cause something to change, the result of something that can be changed, or it can be controlled, so it has no effect on anything. Okay, so go ahead and write that down on your notes. So pretty much a variable is something that we change or something that changes in an experiment. Okay, so let's say we collected the data and then I ask you, is it better to have airdrop supply with air or without air? Okay, so I ask you to change that variable. Okay, and then you create the same exact idea. Okay, so you're going to create the same supply, the same airdrop supply, using the same materials, using the same way you built it before, but instead of having air in the balloon, you're going to have no air. So you're only changing one variable. Okay, because you don't want to do too many changes because you don't know if what actually changed it. So you don't want to change the air and then cut the plate and then cut the rubber band and then do the tape around the cup. So you don't want to do all the changes. You only want to make one change to see if that makes a difference. Okay. So whenever you change a variable per experiment, only change one variable to test it out. Okay. So the independent variable is the manipulated variable we call, is what you change yourself on purpose because you wanted to test the results. In this case, we change the balloon if you want to put air or no air, correct? So go ahead and take notes of that on your Cornell notes, independent variable. And then dependent variable is what changes after you change something on the experiment. So let's say that you change the balloon, right? To put air or no air. The dependent variable here is going to be the time. So either it's going to make it fall down slower or fall down faster, okay? So the dependent variable here is time, okay? So then we'll go ahead and drop it out again and test it out 5 times, and then we'll collect the results. In this case, with air, this was our time, and then with no air, this was our time, okay? So this is my evidence showing you that it's better to have no air in the balloon than having air in the balloon when you do the airdrop supply, okay? And then whenever you're graphing something, the independent data, usually whatever you change, goes on this line, which is called the x-axis, and then the dependent variable, what changes after you make a change, is called the dependent variable. In this case was the time, okay? So whenever you make changes, whatever you change is going to go on this part of the graph usually, okay? Go back into your essential question, and then go ahead and answer it in your own words. Why do you think it's important to collect, organize, and then analyze data? Why is it important to graph information?